Well, Rwanda is fast becoming a top financial hub in Africa, and Singapore's central bank recognizes this. And for more, we speak with Leila Rwagasana, Fintech Lead of the Kigali International Financial Centre, and she's one of the speakers at the Singapore Fintech Festival. Well, thanks so much for joining us this evening. So, your finance centre has done very well. The Kigali International Financial Centre is now among the top 3 in Africa. Well, that is a big deal. So help us understand, how did Rwanda manage to grow so fast?
Thank you, first of all, for having me. It's great to be in Singapore. I think Rwanda's growth, I would say it's multifaceted in a certain way. First of all, we have to acknowledge the fact that with the genocide against the Tutsi in '94, basically the country was crushed and we had to start from zero. First by, on the leadership level, having and defining a new vision of the country. And second, how do you now implement the vision, right? So one of the things that we worked on at the beginning was to basically now, the entire environment, whether it's business, whether it's governance, whether it's investment in all sectors, was trying to regulate some of those factors. And I think we were a country that is basically, in my opinion, I would say we were starting from scratch. So we are 29 years, not so many years, because of what happened and the country was crushed. And that gives us an opportunity to actually look at things differently. If you look at, to give you an example, in terms of business and investment, the opportunity was how can you actually fast attract investments in the country. So first was to look at how to ease business to come to Rwanda on the continent. So first we make it easy, we make it free to register a business. And we have a visa regime that is free. So anyone who comes to Rwanda can enter Rwanda without a visa. Any citizen from Commonwealth countries, AU countries, Francophonie countries. So pretty much that's over half of the world. So just to ease the free movement. And of course, register a business now, just 6 hours. So free and 6 hours online, and you have your business running. So those, just to touch upon very quickly on some of the things we had to put in place, that's one of the things we look at. And that's what made us grow quite fast. And now on the local aspect was now forging strategic partnerships in terms of building talent, in terms of building the capacity of professionals. And one of the things that we've been looking at, it's looking up to Singapore, for example. How do we work together in technology? We've done partnerships with companies in Singapore for digitization of government services, for instance. Kigali International Financial Centre has a strategic partnership with MAS Elevandi to sort of drive the fintech on the continent in Rwanda. And one of the results there was to organize one of the biggest fintech forum, which happened in June 2023, and it was a success. We were able to attract about over 3,000 attendees, over 50 companies from all over the world. Right. So these are some of the things that we look at and say, okay, forge partnership, learn from those who have been able to get there or who are on the journey, and also look at what we can ease in terms of attracting now investments.
Yeah, you're here in Singapore. You've spoken at the Singapore Fintech Festival. We know that you have a partnership with Singapore, as you just mentioned there. Can you give us some detail about specifically what sort of, in what areas of fintech perhaps there has been this collaboration with Singapore, what Rwanda's learning?
I would speak on in terms of the Kigali International Financial Centre. So the partnership we have is first knowledge sharing in terms of fintech, basically fintech adoption and accelerating fintech. So what kind of, let's say, licensing or regulation that has to be put in place? For example, the central bank in Rwanda and MAS also have a partnership. So they work together and look up to each other. Another aspect is in terms of how do we benchmark ourselves? What do we put in place as an international financial center to attract fintechs to domicile in Rwanda? And these aspects of best legal frameworks, tax incentives for fintechs that are licensed to come to Rwanda. So we work together on those two aspects, but also I would say knowledge sharing, seeing and tapping into the market, seeing what fintechs are doing in Singapore. And like today, we've had a couple of meetings where we look at how fintechs have grown and actually have scaled outside Singapore. And this is what we're actually trying to bring to Rwanda.
So you've touched on this collaboration you have with Singapore and the whole fintech industry. It's constantly evolving. It's a challenging industry to get into. And naturally, the impression is that big firms with all the resources that they have, it's easy for them to get into this area. But what about the smaller businesses, though? I mean, trying to get into fintech, I mean, is that a huge challenge for them?
You mean smaller business in Rwanda?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it is challenging because, one, there's also an aspect of attracting capital or raising funds for fintechs. I think a fintech or even a technology company that is starting up, you need funding, right? And the reason why even KFC is in Rwanda, one of the things is to actually be a conduit of capital on the continent, right? So that startups, small businesses like techs, fintechs, have that market, have that access to capital. So Kigali International Financial Centre is not just looking at fintech. We also look at structuring investments such as funds, investment funds, global trading. And when we create those kind of networks like funds, that means our market, smaller businesses, whether they're in Rwanda or on the continent, have access to that. I can speak to one fund that has recently restructured in Rwanda. That's a fund that one of the investors was the Qatar Invention Center, and then we also had Rwanda Social Security Board, which is a pension fund in Rwanda, forming partnership and investing in that fund. And we also have another fund that's called Rwanda Innovation Fund. So we are creating basically that conduit of capital for SMEs and other startups to have access to. And that's one of the main ambitions of Kigali International Financial Centre.
Right, those partnerships are critical.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Ms. Rwagasana, thank you very much for coming into the studios, and we wish you the very best and enjoy the rest of your stay here in Singapore as well.
Thank you for having me.
Leila Rwagasana, the Fintech Lead of the Kigali International Financial Centre.